most people ask one simple question when it comes to YouTube Shorts. How much money do Shorts actually make? And depending on where you look, you will get completely different answers. Some people say Shorts don't pay at all. Others say the RPM is only 1 or 2 cents. And then there are creators who claim they make a full living from Shorts. So what's actually true? In this video, I want to explain how YouTube Shorts really pay, based on real experience, no hype and no flexing. Just how the system actually works, what numbers you can realistically expect, and why most people misunderstand Shorts monetization. First, let's talk about the numbers I personally saw. On average, my Shorts RPM was usually between 17 and 22 cents per 1000 views. That already sounds very different from the 1 to 5 cents that you often hear online. But here is where most people make their first big mistake. They look at the wrong number, because when it comes to Shorts, not all views are equal. This is where engaged views come in. Engaged views are the views that actually count for monetization. These are viewers who didn't just swipe past your short for a split second, but actually stayed, watched and interacted long enough for YouTube to consider that view meaningful. YouTube introduced this concept much more clearly last year, and it completely changed how people should think about Shorts revenue. The view count you see publicly on a short is not the number you should use to calculate earnings. Only engaged views are used to calculate RPM, and the difference can be massive. Let me give you a real example. One of my shorts had around 16.6 million total views, but only about 5.4 million of those were engaged views. That means roughly 2/3 of the visible views did not count for revenue at all. On that short, the RPM was around 19 cents. And that RPM was calculated only on those 5.4 million engaged views, not on the 60 million you see on the screen. This is why so many people do the math wrong and end up thinking Shorts don't pay. They multiply the RPM with the total views instead of the engaged views, and that completely distorts reality. Now here's another important thing you need to understand. Shorts income is not stable. YouTube Shorts are heavily momentum based. That means you can have phases where everything works. You might have 2 or 3 months where you're making several $1,000s per month from Shorts, and then almost overnight views drop. Suddenly you're in a dead phase. Your Shorts barely get pushed, and your income drops to a few $100s. That doesn't mean your channel is broken, and it doesn't mean Shorts stop paying. It's simply how the Shorts algorithm works. Because of that, Shorts income should never be treated like a guaranteed salary. It comes in waves, but that doesn't mean you can't make a living from it. You absolutely can. The key is understanding that these high earning phases will not last forever and planning accordingly. When things are going well, you don't immediately spend everything. You save, you create a buffer. That way, when views slow down, which will at some point, you're not under pressure. Now let's address one of the biggest myths out there. If you Google "do YouTube Shorts pay well?", you will often read that Shorts aren't worth it, that the RPM is extremely low, or that only creators with massive channels make money. In most cases, this information comes from people who either don't run Shorts channels themselves, or who repeat numbers they've heard somewhere else. What they usually ignore is audience geography. If 40% of your audience is from countries with very low ad rates, your RPM will be low. That's true for Shorts and long-form videos. But for most Shorts channels, especially those targeting Western audiences, the RPM is not 1 or 2 cents. It's higher, sometimes much higher. Let me give you a simple example to put everything together. Let's say a Shorts channel gets 10 million total views. About 35% of that audience is from the US, and roughly 45% of the total views end up being engaged views. That would be around 4.5 million engaged views. If the RPM is around 20 cents, you multiply that RPM by the engaged views, not the total views. That's how Shorts revenue is actually calculated. Not every short will perform the same. Not every month will look identical, but that's the realistic framework. Now, one thing I want to make very clear. Shorts are worth it. Not because they magically print money, but because the effort to reward ratio is incredibly high. They take relatively little time to create. You don't need to show your face, you don't need expensive equipment, and you don't need to overthink them. Compared to long form content, the barrier to entry is low, and the upside is huge if you understand the system. If you're just starting out and want a simple, clear framework for how shorts grow and how monetization actually work, I put together a free PDF that covers the fundamentals, attention, growth, and systems without overcomplicating things. The link in the description, it's completely free and meant to give you a solid foundation before you go deeper. So what's the final answer? How much does YouTube actually pay for shorts? It depends. It depends on engaged views. It depends on audience geography. It depends on momentum. And it depends on how you manage the ups and downs. Shorts don't pay badly, they pay differently. If you expect stability, you'll be disappointed. If you understand the waves, save during good phases, and build systems around it, shorts can absolutely be worth it. Thanks for watching.
Alright, so I'm currently at my dashboard on smmshiba.com. And do not get confused by the website names. SMM Shiba and SMM Dodge are actually the same website. So all you have to do once you've created yourself an account here is to go on list, click on this category icon, select, and here you want to select something, basically any option that says from with video. So I'm going to choose this one right here, and this should be already fine. 2014, 2017, yeah. Now I'm going to click on buy, confirm, and now you can go onto your product orders and you will see this is pending. All right, the order is now completed. This didn't even take 2 minutes. What you want to do now is you want to copy that ID, and we want to be organized, right? Especially if we have multiple channels, you will not find them again. So make sure to save it somewhere.